Chapter 29. One Shot. The Prodigal Son. Oswald Cobblepot took a long drag on his cigar as he stepped into the elevator, swiped his card, and pressed the button to his penthouse with the tip of his umbrella, as he could not reach it otherwise. No one in the Gotham, Hampshire hotel gave him any looks, even ones of fear, on his way in, which he was thankful for. With the Iceberg Lounge compromised the way it was, the Penguin had dropped off Gotham's crime radar for a time, at least until these invaders were driven out of the city. His city, so far as he was concerned. Soon, he continued to tell himself, everything would be back to the way it was. When the elevator came to a halt, Cobblepot stepped out. His eyes were quickly drawn to two things: the shattered glass of one of his windows in the wide, window-surrounding living room, and the red-masked man seated on the couch by the fire, draped in one of his coats and tipping one of his top-hats towards him. "Evening, Governor," the Red Hood said. Penguin stared in shock and disgust. "What the hell are you doing here?" As he made his demand, Red Hood tossed aside the hat and shrugged off the oversized coat to reveal his well-armed biker jacket underneath. "Who let you in?" "I train with the best of 'em," Hood replied as he stood up from the couch. "Why are you complaining? It's just starting to snow. Figured the Penguin would appreciate that." "Cut your crap, boy! What are you here for?" "You've been shortchanging me, Mr. Cobblepot." Red Hood's voice remained affable. "What are you talking about?" Cobblepot said. "I paid you for each and every one of those choir-singing bastards." "You also told me you'd be giving me the equipment necessary to continue combating them," Hood said. "But I've been doing a little detective work around here since we became business partners. You have some interesting stuff you've been developing. Technology I've been saving up for. So I figured why not cut out the middleman and just take what I want. Little brat, snooping around in my tech!" Penguin raised his umbrella, pulled on the hidden trigger within the handle, and fired at Red Hood. A bullet knocked him to the ground. "No better than the damn Batman!" "On the contrary, I'm much better than him." Penguin stared, stunned, as Red Hood pushed back to his feet and tossed the jacket aside. Underneath he wore a bulletproof vest that seemed to repair itself as he straightened up. "I don't even know what this crap is, but judging by how the bullets bounce, you stole it from one of your so-called choir boys," he said. "I'm not even sure Batman has toys this fun." Cobblepot took a step back and raised his umbrella again, prepared for a fight, though he already knew it was useless. "And clearly that's not all you've gotten here either." Hood opened one of his fists to reveal a burst of flame. "I want in on this, Cobblepot. We're going to renegotiate our terms a little, or I'm gonna have roast Penguin tonight." After this sentiment, Red Hood was painfully interrupted by a sudden flying kick to the face. His body flew across the room into the opposite wall. With a grunt, he pushed back to his feet and faced the blue and black-clad hero opposite him. "No one needs access to tools like that, Jason." Nightwing straightened up in opposition. "Hey, you mind watching where you throw that around? We don't all have names that are interchangeable with insults, dick." "You sods mind taking this somewhere else?" Penguin backed away from the two. "You're gonna get me caught in the crossfire!" When yet another figure descended into the room, Penguin let out a roar of anger, ran to his bedroom, and locked the door. "Well, looks like we've got the place all to ourselves tonight," Spoiler said. "And who's this one?" Red Hood said. "The one I don't even recognize." "I resent that!" Spoiler pointed a finger at him. "Keep it together," Nightwing said. "He doesn't want to kill you. Don't give him a reason to." "Yeah, kid, why don't you run along?" Red Hood pointed one of his pistols toward Nightwing. "Former Robins only." With that sentiment pushing Spoiler further, Red Hood took his opening shots at Nightwing, who quickly jumped behind the couch Red Hood had been sitting upon. He rose a moment later, tossed 3 wing-dings, knocked both of the pistols from Hood's hands, and closed the distance between them. The clang of eskrima sticks against the single gun and knife Red Hood drew echoed through the penthouse. With a split from their initial lock, Nightwing smashed into Red Hood's mask repeatedly with the batons, which forced Hood to lower his guard and grab at his head a little before he haphazardly fired a shot at Nightwing's shoulder. Nightwing's uniform offered little in the way of resistance to the bullet and was forced to back up. He gripped at the wound as Red Hood took a slash with his knife, which only just missed. With a quick whirl, Nightwing tripped Hood and knocked him onto his back. The hero kicked the gun from his hand. In retaliation, Hood took another slash at Nightwing's leg. The cut drew blood and left a nasty gash. With a switch on the mechanism in his glove, Red Hood clenched his fingers as the flame again burst forth from his palm, and he reached out to scorch his former comrade. As if she'd wondered what she was supposed to do if not fight and lend support, Spoiler ran at the two and kicked the still grounded Red Hood in the head. The strike in his shout was enough to allow Nightwing to jump backwards and away from the flaming hand. Despite the kick, Red Hood pushed back to his feet with just a little shake of his head. "All right, so your sidekick has a decent sidekick. Noted." Red Hood pulled another gun from his belt. "You're not the most spineless one he's picked up either. It'd almost be a shame to take you out." With a grab at her grappling hook as he spoke, Spoiler fired at his chest. The claws dug into his armored vest. She took a leap, flew toward him, and delivered another kick to the side of his head. Red Hood only missed a single beat when he let out a grunt of pain and grabbed a hold of her cape. Fire sprung to life in his hand and set the garment ablaze. Spoiler looked at the burning fabric in fear for a moment before she unclasped and tossed the cape into the fireplace with the rest of the kindling, bitterly losing her hood in the process. "What do you know? She even kind of looks like me," Red Hood chuckled. "Hey, Blue Jay, why don't you sit this one out? I want to play around with her a little more." Directly after this statement, Hood was again ducking and dodging wingdings, though purposely let one clank against his armor and fall to the floor like it was nothing. "You said it yourself. Former Robins only." Nightwing threw a few more, then lunged at his opponent, got him by the chest, and rammed him against the opposite wall. The Penguin yelled a few incomprehensible words from the other side. Nightwing then turned Red Hood's face toward the wall and began smashing it in. Hood got out one of his knives and dug it into Nightwing's arm. He stopped and cried in pain, quickly but painfully pulled the knife from his flesh as Red Hood regained his composure. Hood grabbed Nightwing by the hair and bashed him in the jaw with his knee 3 times before he threw him aside with a bloodied mouth, then turned back towards Spoiler. "Don't make me finish you, Grayson. Nobody's paying me for that tonight. As for you, where were we?" "You were just being like every other jerk in Gotham, trying to beat up a girl you've never met before," Spoiler said. "Do you really want to do all this? We're all trying to run the Seraphim out of town. We've got a common goal here. Why do we need to fight about it? Is it written somewhere in the rules and laws of superheroing that every team-up has to be preceded by a stupid, mutual respect-earning fight or something? And look at that, she's even smart enough to start questioning convention." Hood's taunting with this remark was surprisingly minimal, almost as though he was sincere. "No, whoever you are, we don't have to fight. And we are striving for the same things. The only problem is your precious Batman. Your mentor's a coward, unable to grow the hell up and actually give this city the salvation he's promised it. Him and this Seraphim just want the same things. Seraphim's just ever so slightly closer to my level, which will make it a real shame when I take him out." Red Hood paused for a moment, looked back and forth between Spoiler and Nightwing, and relished that neither interrupted him. "You should just get away from these self-serving types, kid. Give my way a chance. I'll even split some of my Seraphim profits with you." The room went quiet, and for a moment one could almost be fooled into thinking Spoiler was considering his offer before she scoffed. "That's your problem, Hood. I work with Batman all the time. I take out thugs almost every night. I know you couldn't have known this when you said it, but I'm a former Robin myself. I know all about you, and you don't know a thing about me." Red Hood slowly turned to Nightwing, who was pushing back to his feet. With a kick, he slid one of the guns that had been forced from his hands toward the hero, and picked up one of the other ones. "Hold on to that," he said. "I know you're not going to kill me, but I want it on my mind. You keep to the sidelines. Try to interrupt," he referred to the weapon he still held, "and I'll use it on her. No lethal force until then. I promise. This is way too interesting." Nightwing looked down at the gun. He grit his teeth, but didn't lay a finger on it. Playing by Red Hood's rules sounded awful, but he didn't want to risk his teammates' well-being. "Stop. Spoiler! Spoiler! Kick his ass!" She nodded and again met Red Hood in battle. The two stuck strictly to punches and kicks. Each managed to quickly and effectively dodge the other as Red Hood continued to banter. Spoiler, huh? Or was he about to call you Stephanie? How about you shut up and fight? Spoiler blocked a punch, jumped to his side, and jabbed him in the ribs. The inability to get through the armor was starting to make her blood boil. How's my old uniform look down in the cave? Hood continued to jab, both of his words and with his fists. Hell, where do you even fit? They all said Drake was the third, and he's out in red and you're in purple. I'll have you know I was a temp! Spoiler huffed as she rose an arm to block a kick to the head. At that point there was no doubt about it. She was slowing down. Red Hood's armor and toying with his flaming gauntlet allowed him to conserve much of his energy. Even with Nightwing waiting to offer assistance, her grip on the situation was slipping. And were you even acknowledged? Red Hood's voice turned mocking. Spoiler blocked his next punch, but was unable to do likewise with a second, which painfully connected with her philtrum and knocked her onto her back. Blood slowly started to well up behind the mask, just under her nose. That must have hurt. Spoiler pulled her mask up to just past her nose to make breathing easier as she pushed back to her feet. The hesitation that was already present in Nightwing only grew more grave. I'll have you know I recently beat the crap out of the Scarab for talking like that. Scarab? Red Hood chuckled. Who the hell is Scarab? You want to go obscure, you reference Magpie. You want to go big, you talk Blackfire. Red Hood again closed the distance and unleashed a barrage of punches, most of which Spoiler managed to dodge or guard against, but a few slipped past her and went crashing into her face. And you want to go painful? You talk to me about the Joker beating you to death with a crowbar! Red Hood clenched the fist that bore his flaming gauntlet and sent his steel-covered knuckles careening into Spoiler's face. Again she hit the ground, gasping for breath and wheezing in pain. Maybe I was wrong. You would be interesting if this whole thing wasn't so pathetic. That's enough, Jason! Nightwing threw another wingding that collided with his mask. She's done for the night. Leave her alone and finish things with me. Oh, why? So I can do the same boring routine again? She and the Seraphim are the only ones keeping things interesting. I'd have already killed him and all his forces if his base wasn't so well guarded. Nightwing froze. You found their base? That's for me to know, not you. Red Hood turned toward the struggling, bleeding Spoiler. But I'll tell you, little girl, provided you change your mind on my offer. Rolling with what little strength she had left, Spoiler faced him and spat on his boots. You're no better than those jerkasses you compared yourself to. Don't give Joker crap for killing when you do it yourself. Red Hood stared down at her. A fury almost instantly overtook him. You think I'm like the Joker? The rage remained mostly contained as he drew one of his last knives. Is that what you think? All right, fine. Then you're gonna be one more Batgirl who's never gonna walk again! With that shout, he plunged the knife into Spoiler's left knee. An instant after came an agonized scream. Spoiler shook violently as the shriek dissolved into sobs and struggled to regain any sense of balance. Red Hood looked up to see Nightwing now had the gun raised toward him. An intensity like the villain had never seen in his former partner blazed in his eyes. I said that's enough! Nightwing proved unable to keep hold of the gun as he shook with his own anger and disgust. Go ahead. Red Hood pointed his own gun towards Spoiler. Make my day. Red Hood and Nightwing held their positions, weapons in hands, and places locked. So much so that Red Hood stopped watching Spoiler as he stared down his remaining opponent. With what little was left of her strength, Spoiler rolled to her side, stole the last knife strapped to one of his boots, and returned the stab in the back of the knee. Red Hood had no way to see it was coming, and he let out a roar of his own as metal penetrated his flesh. He turned to fire at the repositioned Spoiler, but gave Nightwing just enough time to rush in and punch him in the face. The final gun slipped from Hood's hand, and Nightwing let loose with a flurry of punches across Red Hood's mask. Hood limped closer and closer to the window, a trail of blood left in the wake as Nightwing pursued him until he reached the penthouse's shattered glass. He took a leap and again cried in anguish as he drew his grappling hook and escaped into the night. He was so close to capture, and could have even confirmed some important information. But for the moment, he had a wounded soldier to tend to. Nightwing made his way to the still gasping Stephanie and pulled her mask off completely to ease her breathing. I won't bother asking if you're all right, he said. Let me try to move you. In spite of more screaming and gasps, he managed to lift her as she continued to gasp desperately for breath. It hurts! She sobbed and clutched him tight. Oh, God! It hurts so bad. I haven't felt... Psionis! I got you, Dick said. even if he wasn't sure how true that was. "Yeah, I can carry you, but I can't get you out of this penthouse," he continued in a hushed voice. "I'll call for Bruce and the others. You don't even have a mask right now." Nightwing put in the call. Their family assured them they would join as soon as possible. Dick sat down next to Spoiler as she continued to fight for real breath. "You did amazing. You deserve to know that. I didn't expect you to fight him by yourself, and you did even better than I could have hoped. Hang in there." Within half an hour of compressing the wound, the other three arrived. Robin ran to Stephanie and wrapped his arms tight around her as she let out a few quieter cries into his shoulder. "What just happened?" Robin looked toward Nightwing. "She was supposed to be your backup. Red Hood changed the name of the game on us. Speaking of which, don't drop any names. Cobblepot locked himself in the bedroom." "You let him do this?" Robin was still shouting. Don't yell at him." Spoiler still fought to regain her composure. It isn't his fault." Until then, Batman and Angel still watched the scene from a distance. Angel looked on in horror and made repeated signs of the cross. "Go over there," Batman said. "I know you don't want to interrupt them, but you want to go. And she could use it too." "You sure?" Angel asked. "You're important to her. Maybe as important as he is. And if we're going to get her out of here, we're going to need her stable. That wound looks bad. Good God, if Jason severed a tendon. Go." So Angel went to join her friends and imitated the position Tim had taken, hugging Stephanie close to herself. And as they both did, her shaking seemed to calm, ever so slightly.